Do you know that Solomon is Moses? Therefore, Solomon is going to build the Ark of the Covenant under the directions of his father David. Do you know that Solomon was never the king of Jerusalem, for he's meant to be the king of Ethiopia, also known as Gihon? Let's read. In former ages, Ge'ez was the language of the country, and so even without an interpreter, the people had no difficulty in examining and understanding the books. But just as one age succeeds another, so Amharic, which sprang from Ge'ez, gradually grew until it became the common speech of the people, taking the place of Ge'ez. At that time, Ge'ez was understood by the learned people of the church, but was not readily understood by the ordinary people. Why? Because all Bibles are translated out of the Ethiopian original tongues, which was written in Ge'ez. So the people of the church had to know Ge'ez. So Ge'ez was understood by the learned people of the church, but was not readily understood by the ordinary people. Arising from this, the scholars in their preaching and work have for centuries been forced to their teaching to interpret from Ge'ez into Amharic, and these conditions prevail until our own times. Haile Selassie. In other words, the original Bible was written in Ge'ez, and nowadays people are having problems to understand. So let's read. Let's watch.
That anybody can stand up and say, we have preserved the Torah of Musa. If they said it, you liars. You don't know what is the Torah of Musa.
Musa is just another name for Moses, and Moses goes by the name of David. Why? Because Moses is Solomon, and King David named his favorite son Solomon after himself. Therefore, Moses is also named David, just like Solomon, because he does the same thing Solomon does. They both was with Sheba.
It has been lost. It has been changed. You cannot say, I have the Zabur, the Psalms of David. You lie. It has been changed. It has been altered. It has been lost.
Thanks to Judaism and their lies. So that's why God said, any monument to be left for our people to be permanent must be erected upon spiritual foundations. It is widely known that during our reign, we spared no effort to promote and extend education and to cultivate the spirit and mind of our people. Haile Selassie. Because people have been changing the story, like these people.
And I thought I'd go and have a look at Jewish literature to see what they say about their origins. And here we see three quotes. And the first is in the 1925 Jewish Encyclopedia, which says that Esau, Edom, is modern Jewry. And of course this is contrary to what most people believe today, which is that the Jews are God's chosen people because they are the Israelites. But here the Jewish literature is saying that they are actually from the tribe of Edom, not the tribe of Israel. In the Jewish Almanac in 1980 it says, strictly speaking, it is incorrect to call an ancient Israelite a Jew or to call a contemporary Jew an Israelite or Hebrew.
Why? Because they converted to Judaism. Hence, they converted. They didn't originate it. They converted to Judaism around 744 AD on the Roman calendar. Hence, they are not their original Israelites.
And that's because, truthfully speaking, they're not the Hebrews or Israelites. They're really the Edomites. And also, we see here in the Encyclopedia Judaica that Edomite Jews began to call themselves Hebrews and Israelites in 1860.
Hello. We need to start waking up. We got to find the original. So wake up, people. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Because Egypt is just a continuation. Rome is just a continuation of ancient Egypt. That's why in Rome they follow ancient Egyptian pagan festival dates and mark them as holidays. Why? Because they're one eagle with different colored feathers. And they're the ones who change in the story. So let's read. Notice Moses is doing the same thing as Solomon, as instructed by David. Therefore, David is telling Solomon to do the same things as Moses. So let's read. And David proceeded to congregate all the princes. Jehovah, the God of Israel, chose me out of all the house of my father to become king over Israel, to time indefinite. Jehovah has given me. He then chose Solomon, my son, to sit upon the throne in the kingship of Jehovah for Israel. Solomon, your son, is the one that will build my house. I have chosen him as my son, and I myself shall become his father, and I shall certainly establish the kingship firmly to time indefinite, if he will be strongly resolved to do my commandments and my judicial decisions, just like Moses. So he has the same mission as Moses. Why? Because he is Moses, and Moses is David. So he calls out to me, you are my father, my God, and the rock of my salvation. Who? David, because once I have sworn in my holiness to David, I will not tell lies. So David has more than one name. So as you can see, Solomon was anointed, just like David was anointed, as the king of Gihon or Gihon. In other words, he's the king of he will become the king of Ethiopia. So let's read. The Gihon River is the second river mentioned in the second chapter of the biblical book of Genesis. So the question is, what is the river called in Jerusalem? It is not called the Gihon River. It is called the Jordan River. So Jerusalem doesn't have the Gihon. Why? Because the Gihon is the Garden of Eden. So what is the Garden of Eden located in Ethiopia? It's 4 rivers. So the 4 rivers that compass of the Garden of Eden are located in Ethiopia. It also refers to as the land of Cush, translated or interpreted as Ethiopia. Why? Because the author of Genesis describes Gihon as the encircling the entire land of Cush, a name associated with Ethiopia. The Gihon is mentioned in Genesis as the name of the river that encompasses the whole land of Ethiopia. So the king of Gihon is the king of Ethiopia. And what do they speak? The oldest language in the world. Ge'ez language is believed to scholars to be over 5,000 years old, making it the oldest of all languages, considered the father language. The Ge'ez language is considered even older than Hebrew and Arabic, much older. Why? Because it's the oldest language on earth. So let's look at the top 3 oldest synagogues in the world. One is in Spain. Out of the 8 oldest synagogues in the world, 3 are in Spain, 1 is in Italy, 1 is in Germany, 1 is in Czech Republic, and the oldest, guess where it's going to be? In Egypt. Why? Because all religions stem out of Egypt, because they're the original pagans. So in the beginning was one God and no religion. So the Ben Ezra synagogue is the oldest synagogue in the world, also the longest serving. The synagogue has stood in the site since the 9th century. So notice it's not over 2,024 years old. In other words, we have been lied to. So we need to wake up. The king of Gihon is the king of Ethiopia. Therefore, Solomon was never the king of Jerusalem.
The bush tabernacle, the mountain a smoke, Rome volcano erupted, a mountain a choke. I listen as in a judgment, a hurl thunderbolt.